On a night when America thought it was just tuning in for laughs, Stephen Colbert looked Donald Trump dead in the eyes on live television, calmly dropped a DNA report on the desk between them, and blew the biggest secret in the Trump family wide open, proving that the man who spent years screaming about family values had been hiding the most twisted truth of all. Barron Trump's real mother wasn't Melania. It was Ivanka. It was supposed to be just another Tuesday night taping of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert at the Ed Sullivan Theater in New York City. But tonight felt different right from the start. There was a strange tension in the air. Colbert is out with his signature grin and sharp suit. He jumped right into his monologue like always, poking fun at the latest Washington drama, roasting a few politicians, and throwing in some quick one-liners about everyday life that had the crowd cracking up. "Folks, can we talk about how crazy things are getting out there?" he said, pacing the stage with that easy energy Americans love. The laughs rolled through the room, warm and familiar. Then, right in the middle of a bit, the side doors to the stage flew open with a loud bang. Heads turned fast. The music cut short. Walking straight toward Colbert's desk was Donald Trump himself, moving with that big, confident stride, chin up, wearing his usual dark suit and that trademark smirk. The audience went dead silent for a split second. A few people gasped. Others just stared, mouths half open, trying to figure out if this was real or some wild sketch gone wrong. Trump waved at the crowd, soaking it in as a few scattered claps and nervous murmurs started up. He didn't wait for an invitation. He walked right up, stopped near the desk, and looked straight into the cameras with that commanding stare. "I'm here tonight to clear up some of these crazy, ridiculous rumors," he said, his voice booming through the studio in that familiar New York accent mixed with presidential authority. "A lot of fake news out there, folks. Very unfair. But I'm setting the record straight, right here, right now." The words hung heavy. He sounded powerful, sure of himself, but he didn't really say what the rumors were about. Just vague talk about lies and enemies spreading stories. The audience shifted in their seats, whispers spreading like wildfire. Some people leaned forward, phones already sneaking out despite the rules. The energy in the room flipped in an instant from easy laughs to tight electric tension. Colbert stayed behind his desk, watching Trump with a calm expression that didn't give much away. He didn't interrupt right away. Instead, he tilted his head slightly and gave a small, mysterious smile, the kind that said he knew something the rest of the room didn't. Trump kept talking, gesturing with his hands, repeating how tremendous everything was and how the media always got it wrong. But the vagueness only made it worse. The more he spoke without naming anything specific, the more the air felt thick with questions. Was this about politics, business, something personal? Nobody knew, and that not knowing made every second feel loaded. Colbert let Trump finish his opening lines, then leaned forward across the desk, eyes locked right on him. The studio was already quiet, but it got even quieter. "Mr. President," he said, voice calm but direct, "what's your real relationship with Ivanka like?" The question hit the room like a slap. A few people in the audience actually gasped out loud. Trump blinked, his confident smirk freezing for half a second. He let out a short, awkward laugh that didn't sound real. "Well, Stephen, Ivanka and I have a tremendous relationship. Really great. She's smart. She's beautiful. She's done an incredible job. People are saying all kinds of nasty things. Fake news? Very unfair to the family." He tried to steer away fast, launching into his usual talk about winning elections, strong economy numbers, and how nobody works harder than his team. His hands moved in big gestures, but the words felt like they were dodging the actual question. Every time he mentioned family, it came out a little too quick, a little too loud. The audience could see it. Trump was shifting in his seat, trying to look relaxed, but his smile looked forced now. Colbert didn't jump in right away. He just sat there watching, letting the silence stretch out. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. The quiet got so thick you could hear the air conditioning humming in the background. People in the front row started leaning forward. Trump's laugh faded. He glanced at Colbert, waiting for another question, but none came. The longer the silence lasted, the more uncomfortable the whole room felt. Finally, Colbert spoke again, his tone still even, almost friendly. "I get it. You're saying everything's fine, but here's the thing." He paused, then dropped it like it was no big deal. "I've been checking into a few things myself. I've got some inside information that's been waiting for the right moment." Trump's face changed. The easy confidence cracked. A thin line of sweat appeared on his forehead under the bright studio lights. He wiped it away quickly with the back of his hand, but not fast enough. The audience noticed. Whispers rippled through the seats. Colbert's words hung there, simple and heavy. He didn't explain what the inside information was yet. He just let it sit, watching Trump's reaction. Trump tried to laugh it off again, but this time it came out sharper. "Inside information? What is this, Stephen? Some kind of ambush? The fake news media has been after me for years. They make up stories. Total lies." He pointed a finger toward the camera, his voice rising. "My family is off limits. Tremendous people. The best." But the deflection didn't land the same way anymore. Colbert stayed quiet for another beat, his small, knowing smile returning. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He simply tilted his head and said, "We'll get to that. But first, let's talk about what people are actually saying behind the scenes." Then Colbert reached under his desk and pulled out a plain brown envelope. He held it up so the cameras could see it clearly. "This right here," he said, keeping his voice steady and matter-of-fact, "is Barron's DNA report." The words dropped like a rock into still water. The audience sucked in a collective breath. Phones that had been sneaking out were now fully raised. Trump's eyes narrowed hard. He shifted forward in his chair, mouth opening to speak, but Colbert wasn't done. Before Trump could get a word out, Colbert nodded toward the big screen behind them. "And to make sure nobody thinks I'm making this up, here's someone who actually ran the test." The screen lit up with a pre-recorded video. A man in his late 40s wearing a white lab coat sat in a plain office. He looked nervous, but spoke clearly. "My name is Dr. Alan Reed. I'm a senior technician at an independent genetics lab in New Jersey. The sample for Barron Trump was submitted anonymously and processed under strict chain of custody rules. No one from the Trump family or their lawyers was involved. The results are clean and independent." The whistleblower's voice carried through the studio. He didn't name names, but he confirmed the test was real and had been double-checked. The audience murmured louder now. Some people whispered, "Holy shit," under their breath. Trump's face turned red. He slammed his hand on the desk and started talking over the video. "This is ridiculous! Fake! Totally fake! You're bringing on some paid actor to smear my family on live television?" Colbert didn't raise his voice. He simply paused the video with a click of his remote and looked straight at Trump. "Mr. President, do you want to see the actual results right now?" Trump was already half out of his chair, pointing aggressively. "I don't have to sit here and listen to this garbage." His voice boomed, anger flashing in his eyes. He looked ready to storm off or lunge forward. The security guys near the wings tensed up. The audience gasped again, louder this time. Colbert stayed seated, completely calm. He slid another sheet of paper from the envelope and held it up. "Before you go anywhere, take a look at these dates. Barron's official medical records list a routine checkup on March 12th. But according to the lab submission log your own team used, the DNA sample was taken on March 9th, 3 days earlier. How does that work if everything is normal?" Trump froze mid-motion. His mouth opened, then closed. For the first time that night, real panic flickered across his face. Sweat was now clearly running down his temples. He blurted out, "That's none of anybody's business. That's private family stuff." The words hung in the air. The audience went dead quiet for a beat, then erupted in shocked whispers. Trump had just slipped, admitting it was private family stuff. instead of denying the test existed. Colbert didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He just tilted his head slightly and said, "Exactly. So let's talk about why it needs to stay so private." Trump dropped back into his chair heavily, breathing hard. His usual bluster was cracking. Colbert didn't give Trump any time to recover. He reached back into the envelope and pulled out 2 more items: a printed screenshot of a photo with visible metadata and a short stack of printed text messages. He held them up toward the camera. "Mr. President, let's look at this," Colbert said, his voice still calm but carrying a sharper edge now. "This is a photo taken inside Trump Tower. The metadata shows it was snapped on June 17th, 2018. And these text messages right here were sent from a phone number linked to one of your longtime staffers. They were provided by someone who worked inside your family circle for years." The big screen behind them zoomed in. The photo clearly showed Ivanka and a young Barron in a private moment that looked way too intimate for a normal father-daughter scene. The timestamp and location data were crystal clear. Then the text popped up, short direct messages talking about keeping things quiet and making sure nobody finds out about the arrangement. Trump's face went tight. He shook his head hard and started shouting, "That's completely fake. Those are photoshopped. You're doctoring evidence on live TV. This is a witch hunt." Colbert cut in immediately, pointing at the screen. "Hold on. Look at the dates. The medical record you yourself referenced earlier mentioned a family trip to Florida that same weekend, but these messages were sent at 2:14 a.m. from Trump Tower in New York. You can't be in 2 places at once. The timestamps don't lie." Trump's mouth opened, but no smooth answer came out. His hands clenched into fists on the desk. Sweat was pouring down his face now, soaking the collar of his shirt. The audience was leaning so far forward some people were almost standing. Then Colbert picked up the final sheet from the pile. A sworn affidavit. He held it steady and started reading out loud in a clear, steady voice. "I, Maria Gonzalez, worked as a private assistant in the Trump household from 2016 to 2020. I personally witnessed multiple private interactions between President Trump and Ivanka that went far beyond a normal father-daughter relationship. These encounters happened regularly over several years. I was instructed multiple times to keep the door closed and make sure no one entered the private quarters when they were together." The studio exploded. Gasps turned into loud murmurs and then scattered shouts of disbelief. "What the hell?" someone yelled from the back rows. Trump shot up from his chair, face bright red, veins bulging in his neck. "That's a lie!" he roared, slamming both hands on the desk so hard the microphone jumped. "That woman is a liar! Total bullshit! This is all made-up garbage!" Half the audience started booing and shouting back at him. "Let him finish!" others yelled. The noise level spiked fast. Phones were recording everything. The whole room felt like it was about to boil over. Colbert stayed seated, but his voice dropped lower and turned ice cold. "Mr. President, you can yell all you want, but these are sworn statements. These are timestamps. These are facts. And right now, they're painting a very different picture than the one you've been selling." Trump stood there breathing heavily, pointing his finger straight at Colbert. His usual confident swagger was gone, replaced by raw, visible fury and panic. Colbert didn't flinch. He simply looked Trump dead in the eyes and waited, letting the explosion echo through the studio. Colbert let the chaos from the affidavit settle for just a second, then reached for the last brown envelope still sitting on the desk. He picked it up slowly, deliberately, making sure every camera caught the moment. The studio had gone from loud to pin-drop quiet again. He looked straight at Trump and spoke in a calm, measured voice that cut through the tension like a knife. "This final report confirms Barron's real biological mother," Colbert said, pausing just long enough for the words to sink in. "And her name starts with the letter I." The room froze. Then it erupted. Gasps, shouts, and a wave of "Oh my God!" swept through the audience. People clutched their seats. Some stood up halfway, eyes wide. Trump's face went pale, then flushed deep red. His mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. The confident bluster from earlier had completely vanished. Suddenly, Trump lunged forward, slamming his hands on the desk and leaning aggressively toward Colbert. "You son of a bitch!" he snarled, face twisted in rage, looking like he was about to grab the envelope or worse. The security team near the stage took a step forward. Colbert didn't flinch. He simply raised his hand, palm out, stopping Trump cold with that single calm gesture. At the same time, he hit a button on his console. A short audio clip played through the studio speakers. A woman's voice, distorted just enough to protect her identity, but clear enough to understand every word. "I saw it with my own eyes for years," the voice said. "The relationship between Donald and Ivanka was not normal. Barron is their biological child. I helped arrange the private medical steps to keep it hidden. Her name is Ivanka. There's no doubt." The audio ended. The silence that followed lasted less than 2 seconds before the studio exploded again. People were on their feet now, some cheering, some yelling in shock, others just staring in disbelief. The noise was deafening. Trump was shaking. Sweat poured down his forehead, soaking his shirt. His hands trembled as he pointed at Colbert. "This is all lies. I'm going to sue you, sue the network, sue everybody involved. You'll be finished." Colbert leaned forward slightly, his voice staying ice cold and logical, never rising. "Mr. President, you can sue all you want, but you just admitted on camera a few minutes ago that this was private family stuff. If it's all fake like you claim, why would you say that? Why threaten lawsuits instead of simply denying the DNA results and the timestamps? The more you fight it, the more it looks like you're scared of the truth coming out." Trump's eyes darted around wildly. His breathing was ragged. For the second time that night, he slipped again. "You don't understand. She's my daughter. This isn't supposed to be public." The words tumbled out before he could stop them. The moment he said it, he realized what he'd done. His face drained of color. The studio went absolutely nuts. People stood up completely now, shouting, gasping, some clapping in shock. The roar was so loud it drowned out everything else. Trump was visibly trembling, sweat flying as he shook his head. The man who had walked in with total confidence now looked completely broken under the bright lights, cornered, exposed, and unraveling live on national television. Colbert sat back just a little, still in full control, watching the president fall apart right in front of him. Trump completely lost it. He slammed both fists on the desk so hard the microphones bounced and the sound cracked through the studio like a gunshot. "This is all a hoax! A total scam! You set me up!" he screamed, face purple with rage, spit flying. Without another second, Trump shoved his chair back violently and stormed off the stage, shoulders hunched, fists still clenched. The side doors flew open as he charged through them. They slammed shut behind him with a loud bang that echoed through the suddenly quiet studio. For a moment, nobody moved. The audience sat stunned, mouths open, eyes wide. Then Colbert slowly pushed his chair back and stood up. He reached under the desk one last time and pulled out a final, unopened brown envelope. The backup evidence he hadn't touched yet. He held it high so every camera could see it clearly. His voice stayed calm, steady, and cutting through the chaos like nothing had happened. "We're not done yet, Mr. Trump," Colbert said, loud enough for the whole room and the millions watching at home. "There's still more in here if you ever want to come back and face it." The audience erupted. Cheers, gasps, and wild applause exploded across the studio. People jumped to their feet, clapping, shouting, some even whistling. The energy was electric, like the roof was about to blow off. Colbert stood there, envelope still raised, letting the moment breathe while the cameras caught every reaction. He waited just a beat, then lowered the envelope and looked straight into the main camera, his expression serious but strong. "Tonight wasn't about ratings or gotcha moments," he said, voice firm and steel-edged. "It was about the truth. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how loud you shout, the truth doesn't care about your title. It comes out eventually. And when it does, nobody, not even the president, gets to hide from it. The applause grew even louder, turning into a full roar that shook the studio. People were on their feet, clapping nonstop, some yelling, "Colbert! Colbert!" The band kicked in with a heavy riff behind the cheers. On the big screens behind Colbert, live social media reactions started flashing, tweets exploding with "what just happened," "DNA bomb dropped live," and "Trump walked out, history made." The comments rolled fast. Shock, disbelief, memes already forming. Colbert gave a small nod to the audience, a half smile breaking through. "Well, that just happened," he said simply, echoing the craziness of the night. The crowd laughed through their cheers, the tension finally breaking into raw, wild energy. As the applause kept thundering, the studio lights pulsed and the cameras panned across hundreds of stunned, excited faces. Whispers rippled through the seats even as people clapped. Did that really just happen? Holy shit! What did we just watch? This is going to be talked about for years. The show faded out on that roar of applause and those quiet, shocked whispers. The night that started as a normal late-night episode had turned into something nobody would forget. A president had stormed out, a host had stood his ground with nothing but facts and calm nerve, and the truth had hit harder than anyone expected. The echoes of that chaos would be ringing long after the lights went down.